Faye 2024, a documentary about the actress Faye Dunaway. She is a good actress, I have no complaints with her as a screen presence. The documentary interviews her, she is the main subject, as in she's the person interviewed the most. She makes up, say, 80% of the interview subjects. It's not in depth, as in it doesn't criticise her heavily, but it does admit that yes, her behaviour was difficult and that a lot of people did not enjoy working with her, that she was intense and difficult and demanding, and it shows some clips of her actually making the documentary being a bit difficult and demanding with the crew. So it doesn't shy away from that, although it does explain it all away with mental illness of bipolar disorder. Anyway, the problem is she's just an actress, which means acting is not a profession in which there's an awful lot to really say. If they don't write and direct, and she did very little of directing, she did some but not much, not enough of note. So if what they do on a movie is they just act, it's such a, there's no intellectual level, there's not much to really say. So she does not bring any more analysis or critical reappraisal or shines new light on anything that a film buff doesn't already know about the making of Chinatown or Network or whatever. So there's just no particular depth to it. Her career is not actually all that interesting because all she did was act, and I just don't think acting's actually all that interesting. It's something you just do instinctively if you are an actor. I assume either you can do it or you can't. You've got the voice, you've got the face, you've got the hair, you wear clothes really well. You just have a way of speaking that just sounds realistic or sounds working class or whatever. You know, you can inhabit the role instinctively. By default, you either are good or you are bad at it. She brought intensity. She had, her look, her way of wearing clothes, all that type of stuff. It's just instinctive, so she can't really analyse it beyond saying, well, I was just born this way and I just had this sort of personality. I project this type of persona by default. So there's nothing for her to analyse. She can't really explain why she was super intense in this movie or this scene, but she isn't in another scene or another movie, because it's all instinctive. There's no intellectual level. So actors are as subjects for documentaries, if we're talking about the actual craft of acting, etc., there's just not a lot to actually say, and this movie suffers from that. The fact that she just doesn't actually have that much to say. Her career itself is not actually all that interesting. Now, other people may have a different opinion on this, but I don't really think she made that many interesting or great movies. There are just a few, and this is just purely from memory. I might be totally misremembering this, but a year or two ago I looked her up on Internet Movie Database, and essentially the last, say, 20 odd years of her career, she made about one movie a year, and never heard of it, never heard of it, never heard of it, never heard of it. Oh, I've heard of that, but that's some obscure movie that only 5 people ever saw, and I happen to be one of those people. Never heard of it, never heard of it, never heard of it. So her career in the last 20 or so years has basically just become a bunch of obscure movies no one's ever heard about. They have received no critical attention or audience attention. I would give the documentary 5 out of 10. Perfectly decent, certainly worth a watch, but it was no more than perfectly decent. A decent, serviceable, straightforward documentary in which they talk to an actress